see in the upper right-hand corner, the Air Force One has landed. The president will be disembarking soon. And Vice President Biden tweeting just moments ago, day of shame in Congress, protections for pre-existing conditions, mental health, maternity care, addiction services, all gone. With me, House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer. You can see him here 7 years ago standing behind President Obama as he signed Obamacare into law. He just voted no today on the GOP bill. Nice to see you, sir.
Greta, good to be with you.
All right, let me ask you some quick questions. The president says premiums are going down. Have you read the bill, and is that what you understand?
I've read the bill, but also, very importantly, I've read the CBO report that is the independent congressional advisor on fiscal matters, and they say premiums are going up 24 to 29% for the average policyholder. So any sense that what Trump represented as lower costs clearly is not going to happen in this bill. Furthermore, of course, he said everybody was going to have insurance. CBO says 24 million people minimum are going to lose their insurance. So from those standpoints, the TrumpCare bill did not accomplish what he promised.
All right, you say the CBO score. I was under the understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, that one of the complaints about this by some, on your side of the aisle mainly, and even Senator Graham in the Senate, is that it hadn't been scored. Are you talking about the score pre-amendments?
Greta, that's correct. The amendment has not yet been scored, and of course Paul Ryan had represented years ago and recently that we shouldn't consider a bill that didn't have a CBO score. This bill didn't in that sense, but the original bill, which was passed at the same time, it became one bill. The original bill, CBO scored, which was not changed, as losing 24 million people from insurance over the next few years. So from that standpoint, that score is still valid. What is not scored is the number of people who are going to lose pre-existing conditions, the cost that there will be to those folks if they can possibly get coverage, notwithstanding a pre-existing condition. So that's the score that we did not get from CBO.
All right, Republicans have said that Obamacare was going to collapse, that it was catastrophic. If nothing had been passed, well, assuming that this GOP bill never gets signed into law, what would you predict would happen to Obamacare if it's left alone as it is?
Well, if it's left alone, but of course the Republicans have not left it alone. When Trump took office, one of the first things he did was to tell IRS not to worry about the mandate. Obviously, if you're going to have insurance, you need a broad cohort of insureds so you can spread the risk. And they've undermined that already. Obviously, they've undermined confidence over the last 6 or 7 years, saying they wanted to repeal it and it was a bad bill. But going forward, if they do not sabotage it, one of the things, as you know, we had an argument about is the cost-sharing subsidies, so that people of little income will have not only their premiums paid, but their copay and their deductibles they'll get help with. That's absolutely essential from the insurance company's standpoint, because that's what they marketed and priced their product at, given that that was in the law and that should be paid. So unfortunately, the Republicans, without the passage of a bill, can sabotage the bill's working, undermine the confidence. If
they didn't do anything, if they didn't touch it, if we just left Obamacare as is, what happens?
CBO says that Obamacare, or as we like to call it, the Affordable Care Act, will stabilize, will do what it's intended to do, open up insurance and make it affordable for a vast number of the American public. So if, in fact, the Republicans in the administration cooperate in carrying out the law as it's written, then CBO says it will be stable.
All right, I will spare you my singing and also spare myself so it doesn't end up on YouTube. But after it was passed, there was some jeering, mocking, singing, whatever you want to call it, by the Democrats about "Hey, hey, goodbye." I know you know the song. What's your thought on that?
I'm not going to sing it either.
Yeah, all right, I'm not going to ask you to sing it. I'll spare you a YouTube presence, too.
Well,
what do you make of that jeering?
Well, I think it was spontaneous, and it was a reflection of, I think, a broad feeling in the Democratic Party that Republicans are going to rue the day when they voted for this bill. Now, there were only 217 of them. It was a very close, razor-thin margin. But I think there is a strong feeling on our side of the aisle that this vote is going to prove to be very, very harmful to the interests of Republicans in the Congress of the United States who support it, because it is going to undermine health care. It is going to up prices. It is going to put a senior tax on those between 50 and 64, a very substantial one. And it is going to make health care less available. So I think our feeling is this was a bad vote for Republicans. We've now seen a huge change, 25% greater support for the Affordable Care Act than existed before the Trump election. It was gone from 42 to 55, and 75% of Americans say, look, fix it, don't replace it. So that we just think it was a bad vote, and I think some members thought that they wanted to articulate that in song, and they did.
Congressman, thank you. Remember, I didn't ask you to sing it, so come back.
Greta, you're always very kind. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Well, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton also in on this. She just tweeted moments ago, quote, "A shameful failure of policy and morality by GOP today. Fight back on behalf of the millions of families that will be hurt by their actions." Now Democrats think this vote spells big trouble for the GOP in 2018 midterm election, and Politico reports that some moderate Republicans are turning their